everyone, this is Dango here from Rocky Valley server. In this video, we are going to talk about how to build Zerida and how to counter Zerida in Apex Arena. So let's start with how to build Zerida. So the gears for Zerida is pretty easy to discuss, but basically it is pretty fixed. Like the weapon you want to use is extreme magic bow. You can also do Euler's bow, which has like +1 range, but this is kind of special. We will discuss that strategy later. And then the armors, you can also use Langrisser or the Monkey Kings or Vest or something like that. Let me check the name of that. I kind of already forget, but I value Langrisser a little bit more than the other gear. So yeah, you can also try. Basically, you can also try this armor. I forget the name, but yeah, this is the one. Monkey King's Vest. You can also use that because it synthesizes well with Zerida. Like when countering, adding some like attack and crit chance is never bad for Zerida. But I still recommend you, if you have enough Langrisser, Zerida still values Langrisser more. And for like headgears, basically you want this King's Crown. If you don't have King's Crown, any like headgear that adds like health points should be okay with Zerida. And then the accessory you can use, you can actually prepare some different accessories for your Zerida. I think in this case, any attack gear actually works for accessory. For example, this Slayer emblem that I'm using, you can also use like Judge Talisman, and the other, like you can also use like Wing Shield, and you can even use like Overlord badge. Yeah, so if you use Overlord badge, then your Zerida becomes a little bit more on a defensive side. You are using like a Slayer emblem, your Zerida is more like offensive side. And yeah, this is basically about the gear selection for Zerida. And you use Breeze as the enchantment for Zerida. The other enchantment you can use is actually Rough Sea, but this is more like a playoff build, right? The more common build is just a Breeze. And if you use like Euler's bow, I also consider that as a playoff build to surprise your enemy. So basically, for troops, for Zerida you have 4 troops. Like this catapult, I consider that as one build to surprise your enemy in playoff. You probably don't want to use that a lot in like normal in normal Apex Arena, but in playoff, this catapult can synthesize well with Euler's. But normally, these 3 troops that Zerida use are Bandit, this Hellfire Archer, and Dark Elf Sniper. So basically, if you are using the Suicide build, which means your Zerida will run Killing Bow and this Bloodthirster. So in this case, you will basically use Hellfire Archer, because your Zerida will kill all the troops anyway, so in most cases your troop doesn't matter. But after her deal the damage, this Hell Archer can actually deal additional 15% of fixed damage equals to enemy's max health point. So this kind of important because sometimes your Zerida like fail to kill like enemy Leonhard, and enemy Leonhard has like 500 health points left. Usually with this Hellfire Archer, you can finish off killing him. So this is basically the option to go when you choose to use the Suicide mode. So if you are choosing the faction buff Zerida, both Bandit and Dark Elf Archer, Dark Elf Sniper works for you. So it really comes to like which units you leveled for your Zerida. So if you have like other characters that are using Darker Elf Sniper, then like you have like level 10 Dark Elf Sniper, definitely just go with that. Bandit is not bad as well, because especially like if we check the training here, I'm still working on the assassin training. But yeah, but if you do like bandit, like assassin damage dealt increase 30% when attacking enemies with full health point. So this is not bad compared to Dark Elf Archer. So basically, I think both Dark Elf Sniper and Bandit work for Zerida. For me, I prefer Bandit a little bit more because in order to trigger this Dark Elf Sniper, you actually needs to attack units with 100% health points. And now we know that our current global meta is the AoE meta. So after you drop AoE to your enemy, it may be that your enemy does not have full health points, and then if your enemy has no full health points, it is kind of hard to use Dark Elf Sniper to kill your enemy. So this is the reason that I prefer Bandit. But like if you just try to kill like enemies with full health points, Dark Elf Sniper will actually deal more damage than Bandit. So if you doesn't bring like any AoE in your side and you just like your whole play is just focused on Zerida, you hope Zerida can kill enemy one by one, then you probably want to bring Dark Elf Sniper. So it's kind of like bring which troop really depends on situation. If you're like using the Suicide Zerida, then your troop is probably this Hellfire Archer. Like if you have other teammates, like if you have Joshua in your team, your Joshua will do some AoE damage, and then you have Varna in your team, Varna can also do some AoE damage, then you try to use Zerida to finish your enemy off. Then in this case, Bandit is your best choice. If your whole team just focus on Zerida, you have like one tank, you have like two healers, and you have another, supporting character, and you just rely on Zerida, then probably you go with Dark Elf Sniper because you will just, like when you use Zerida, your enemy will likely to have full health points. So this is basically Zerida's troop selection. But the other thing is like in playoff, you actually have one additional option is to use Catapult Zerida, and then you switch your gear. I mean, if you are well, you have like another set for Zerida, like which is Rough Sea Zerida, and then you use Euler's Ball for Zerida. So that in that case, your Zerida can actually hit like at full distance away. So your Zerida can move 7 and then hit enemy 4 spots away, which means your threatening distance is 11 for Zerida even without any trigger of Grace. So this type of Zerida counters like enemy Zerida well, because your enemy Zerida are likely going to use Grace enchantment with like extreme magic bow, and they will only like without Grace trigger, they will only have a like 9 spots threatening distance. So your Zerida has 11 spots of threatening distance. And although when you attack, I mean you don't even need to bring any attack skill. You just I mean to counter enemy Zerida, you just bring skill like this, right? You deal a fixed damage, and then after you kill, you just retreat, right? So this very synthesized well, and just to surprise your enemy, if your enemy didn't pick any tank and he runs Zerida, and you also run Zerida, you just bring all these 3 skills, backstab and slash thread, and then faction buff. You just use your Zerida in this way, and there is no way his Zerida can counter your Zerida. So this is the way to go. And if you use like Rough Sea Zerida, then like if they pick like Leonhard, your Zerida can likely kill their Leonhard as well, even without casting a skill, because Rough Sea provides you damage bonus when you like attack your enemy. So yeah, so this is basically how you should build your Zerida. Normally you just run like Grace enchant and use EMB, and then you just you go either the faction buff with this Shadow Red, or you go the Suicide build. So if you use Suicide build, you probably want like Basil or Vanna or like rituals gospel to buff your Zerida. So this is how you should build Zerida. So to counter Zerida, on the other hand, basically let's think about how you can counter your Zerida. So to be honest, Zerida is very high in ban list in season 1. So if your like enemy relies on Zerida a lot, if you see a lot of like meteor characters, you should just ban Zerida right away. For example, like when I battle with like Sigma, I always ban his Zerida first because I know he relies on Zerida a lot. Yeah, so you can also do that. First ban Zerida is never a bad option, but like when you play other players, you realize that they focused more on like Leonhard, then you probably want to ban Leonhard first. So they can probably pick Zerida, so you have to think about how to counter your Zerida. So basically, Landius is a great counter to Zerida, because if they are running like faction buff Zerida, Landius decrease the crit chance and Landius decrease range attack damage. So with Landius help, lots of characters can survive Zerida's attack, like Basil. If you have a good Basil, you put it near Landius, there is no way Zerida can kill you. For example, Bernhard, if you actually build your Bernhard focus on defense, Bernhard can tank Zerida attack without any trouble. But even you are building a like attack-based Bernhard, you just put Bernhard near Landius, and there is no way Zerida can kill your Bernhard. So this is why I say Landius is basically a very strong threat to Zerida. Yeah, like when they pick Zerida, you can, if you have chance, you should get your Landius. The other character that can counter Zerida well is Listel. Listel, currently we know that there is one build focused on magic defense and defense of Listel, so Listel can basically survive both the Suicide Zerida or Faction buff Zerida. So yeah, in this case, if you pick Listel and then you just move your Listel aggressively, and then he will decide whether he should kill your Listel or he should further move back. And then when he has no place to move back, right, he has to decide if he wants to deal some damage to your Listel, or your Listel will just jump into the face of Zerida and do blood dance. So Listel is a great counter to Zerida as well. The other counter to Zerida, you can have Liana as a counter of Zerida. And the reason is basically because Liana has turn control. She can summon a Sky Archer, so that maybe your enemy have to move Zerida first, and then Liana can also cast again, which means, like, for example, Zerida has a 9 spot of threatening range, right? But with again, your characters like Leon, if you have Leon in your team, if you have Landius in your team, with again, they can probably reach Zerida and kill him. So if they have Zerida, Liana could be a very good option for you. And you also want to ban enemies Liana when they pick the Zerida, because just as the same reason, right? If Zerida triggers this hide and sneak, and then your enemy against Zerida, he can probably kill your squashy units. So when they pick Zerida, you want to pick your Liana and ban your enemy's Liana. Basically, this is like how to counter Zerida, and the summon strategy can kind of counter Zerida well. The other character that can counter Zerida is Angelina, right? With summon strategy, if you can let enemies Zerida move first, Angelina's alternate can move up your character by 3 spots. For example, Angelina can move up Listel, and then Listel can potentially be able to reach Zerida and drop a blood dance. So that is going to be a counter to Zerida. Yeah, so I mean, Zerida is very strong. When your enemy picks Zerida, definitely try to ban Basil and ban Liana, right? Especially Liana, you have to ban it. The other character that worth attention is Vela. Vela can again Zerida because he has one cost skill that can again a character without any troop. And we know that if Zerida is using suicide mode, this is basically a perfect combo with Vela. So if you have, so basically if you see, so if your enemy picked Zerida, you try to ban both Liana and Vela. I think they are both very strong coupled with Zerida. And then you try to pick the characters that can, help you reach Zerida, which is Angelina or Liana, and or you can pick characters who can survive one attack from Zerida, such as Bernhardt, such as Listel, and such as Landius. Those are great counter to Zerida. And finally, the ultimate counter to Zerida can be you pick a Zerida yourself, right? If your enemy picks Zerida and you also have a Zerida, you will not be in disadvantage. Basically, the game will be decided by whose Zerida triggers breeze first. And if your Zerida triggers breeze and your enemy's Zerida didn't trigger breeze, then you are likely to at least trade with their Zerida or just kill their Zerida. The other counter, actually I forget about one of the counter which can be very significant is Varna. Varna's arrow ring can be very good to counter Zerida because it can remove Zerida's buff. If the Zerida is using suicide mode without any buff available, you actually are guaranteed to remove her hide and snake buff. And a Zerida without hide and snake has no threat at all. So Varna can be a very good counter. And the good thing about Varna is that she can cast aim, so her threatened range is actually longer than Zerida if no breeze triggered. And after you cast this arrow ring, she can actually also move back. So Varna is a great counter to Zerida as well. And definitely like Emmerich can be a counter as well, right? And Emmerich can reduce the mobility of the enemy, and he's very tanky, so Zerida is not likely to kill Emmerich. Yeah, so basically to counter Zerida, you have to ban, if your enemy picked Zerida, you have to ban Liana and Basil, or like even Vela in following turns. And then you will pick bulky characters that can deal significant damage to Zerida and can survive from Zerida, like Bernhardt, like Listel, like Landius, or you pick the characters that can help you initiate Zerida, like Liana or Angelina. So basically, this is how you counter Zerida. So if you follow me in Twitch, sometimes I stream Apex Arena, and recently, I have been fighting with Zerida a lot. Sometimes also when you fight with Zerida, your strategy can also be just a trade with enemy Zerida. For example, in one of the match that I matched with Roy Lee, and he was using Sniper Wolf earlier today. In this match, and Roy Lee picked Zerida, and I don't have any good counter to Zerida, I would say. But what I did is just I tried to trade with him, right? But he probably made this terrible decision. But when your enemy made some wrong decision, it becomes your chance to win a game, right? So what he do is that. So let's move back. Yeah. So basically, in this round 2, I put my Rini in the attack range of enemy Zerida, and his Zerida decided to kill my Rini, and then basically this Zerida has nowhere to hide, right? This Zerida is just killed by me, right? So basically this is a trait. I used my Rini, which is kind of a character that I don't really need in this battle, but this Zerida is one of the key characters in his team. So I used one of my lower tier character to trade his Zerida, that's not bad for me. So you can always do that when you fight. It is not perfect because your enemy may not make mistake like this one that Royalty made, but you know, you will, yeah, if your enemy did make a mistake and trade with your like lower tier character with his Zerida, then you can probably win the game as well. So this is basically, you know, how you counter Zerida, like from pick and ban, from, you know, from the from like again or alternate, you know, this kind of operation that can move your characters forward, and then, you know, try to catch the mistake that your enemy make. Basically, those are all the methods that you can counter Zerida. But after all, you know, we know that Zerida is great. She is currently, you know, one of the best, you know, offensive characters in this game. So if you really, you know, feel like in your team you have no way to deal with Zerida, just ban her, right? There are some of the, like, even the top players, they ban Zerida immediately. So it is never a bad idea to ban Zerida also. But if you can figure out how to counter Zerida, and you probably need some practice as well. But if you can figure that out, you can have more options to, you know, when you like in your ban peak phase. So yeah, so try to like have more practice and see if you can survive your enemy's Zerida or not. And this is basically all about this video. Thanks for watching and see you guys next time.